make some notes on my end too. Oops, got it.
All right, it says we are live. Hello, everybody. I am here. I just want to make sure it's in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I see it. Okay. I am here with Kaili Ets, and she is a friend and colleague of mine from our business mentoring group, and she works mostly on sleep and works with babies. So it's so exciting to have you here. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself before we get started?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Kaili, founder of Kaili Ets Family Wellness, and a mama of two. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. And really using my 12 years, actually, I think it's 14 years. I'm so used to saying 12. It's 14 years of experience as a pediatric occupational therapist, and then all my advanced certifications since having children. So I've got 2 infant sleep certifications. I'm certified in reflux and infant craniosacral therapy. So I really bring a holistic approach to working with moms with babies 0 to 2. I know we're talking a little bit about older babies today, but I have loads of experience with the older sort of preschool age as well, from my sort of more traditional occupational therapy experiences. But my passion is sleep, because my first baby, who is now 6, was an awful sleeper, or so I thought at the time. And I was so stressed about sleep. And that was like the one thing, not one thing, but that was the main thing that was really consuming me, that caused me so much overwhelm and worry and stress and frustration and all of the things in, at the very least, the first year of motherhood, but for the first 8.5 months for sure. My son was like the classic 20-minute napper. I could have him nap for 3 hours if he was napping on me, but never in his crib. Literally, he was like that classic baby who I would go for a walk, he'd fall asleep, and the second I stopped the stroller, his eyes would be bing, open, and I'd be like, oh man. So I really felt like I had no time for myself. I was stressed about the nights. I would bounce him on the ball for 2 hours. My back was hurting. I would put him down in the crib and he'd like wake up a second later. It was just awful. He was up every 2 hours until 8.5 months old. And I was like, I'm done. I can't do this. I hate my baby at night. And it was just not what I wanted. And so at that
I had
point,
one of those. My first was like that. And I think I have a theory,
okay,
about some of the, we do the shoulds, right? A lot. And we read, as a first parent, we're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to find out all the information. And this is what we know about sleep. Like, it is important. We are responsible for getting our kids enough sleep. And so we take out all that shoulds and actually don't observe the child.
100%. And now in hindsight, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I caused myself all that stress. But it wasn't just me. I really think it's society in general, and all of this misinformation that's out there. The sleep training culture is huge. And, you hear from the sleep training culture and all of the people that you follow on Instagram, even your pediatrician who's telling you that your baby should be sleeping through the night at like 4 months or 6 months or 9 months, but at least by a year. And so when you go to do all your baby wellness checks and whatnot, and the doctor's like, how's your baby sleeping? That seems to be the one question everybody asks you. And you're like, I am going to go mad if you ask me one more time. My baby is not sleeping. But that question in and of itself really almost makes us unconsciously be thinking like, oh, should my baby be sleeping more? Should my baby be sleeping through the night? My baby is not sleeping through the night. What's wrong with my baby? Am I doing something wrong? And you go on this spiral, right? And so that question, even though it's meant as, I care about you, I care about your family, even from your mom or sister-in-law or whoever, that question leads to so many, I can't think of the right word, but so many sort of like spiraling thoughts, right?
Yeah. My group's called Selfcare Without the Guilt. So that's where we take on the guilt and those inner critic voices.
100%.
Spiraling. And then as someone, you see evidence of it when somebody says it to you, then, oh, there's evidence I'm not doing enough, right? So can we get solid in our beliefs about sleep, our beliefs about our babies? Can we drown out the conditioning and all the voices
Totally.
and really just be in relationship? And I
Yeah.
know that's what you teach. That's what you work
Yeah,
with clients
exactly. And
about.
one of the biggest things I find that helps and that helped me was gaining clarity about what normal infant sleep actually is biologically. Like babies are meant to wake up. There's a lot of reasons why they're meant to wake up. One of the biggest reasons is that babies, all babies, even my two babies who were born at 42 weeks and 2 days, both of them, they were kicked out. Even them, all babies are born premature when you compare human babies to other primate babies. And we're born premature because our brains and our heads need to be small enough to fit through the birth canal. We're only born with about 25 to 29% of our brain capacity. And that brain capacity builds in the first 3 years. And in the first 1 to 2 years, it has sort of like the most exponential growth. And the thing is that when your baby is born with only 25% of their brain capacity, they're very vulnerable and very dependent on you for a long time. I know it seems like forever, but it's really only like 3 years. And then you start to see a lot more of that independence. But I think that we forget that our babies need us to regulate their body temperature, their breathing rate, respiration rate, their arousal level, their feeling of safety and security and being calm, and their survival. And so they let us know that they need us by crying and by waking up and saying, Mommy, I need more food. I need more hydration. I need to know that you're there and that I'm safe. Mm-hmm. And I think that we don't talk about that part of things enough. It's all about this like, oh, our babies must be independent. They must learn how to self-soothe. And by babies, I'm talking about toddlers, young children. This goes for a while. But we have this idea from our culture, and just our society is so focused on independence that we almost don't even let our babies and children rest in dependence. And by resting in dependence, that's when they can really have that carefree childhood. That's when they can just not have to worry about our love, about our support, about our, being there for them. They can just be instead of having to work for it, right?
Yeah, the just be. So for me, I'm the oldest, so it was really conditioned into me, self-reliant, independent, do what you need to do, get it done. But I also have my biology background, so I know the importance of the biological things you're talking about. So those first years, I was really, really okay with, this is what they need their mom. This is what I can provide. But as the distance, the independence, that age where they're showing their separation, and that's when you start to come back to, oh my gosh, I have needs too. And like, where are my boundaries here? Right. And, how do I want to treat myself? But also those toddlers just need to be too. Like, they're not just going to be suddenly independent. So you have some advice on how to set boundaries in that place? Like,
I do. And I think one of the things that we fall into, trap is not the right word, but we fall into believing or assuming is that we need to be doing and giving and caring for our babies and our toddlers and even our young children, and that we need to do that in order to help them grow into productive societal members and like the best that they can be. And we often do that as a result, or with the result of kind of almost being a martyr and forgetting our own needs. And the thing is that realistically, just like they tell you on the airplane, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first before helping others. Because guess what? If you have no more air, you can't help others. And so we need to also fill our own love cup. So before or along with our children's love cup. You probably have heard that term before, that you have to fill your children's love cup. And, you know, this is how they can feel like they're connected, and how they often have less of the behaviors when they're feeling connected. And that comes through connection and through that idea of filling their love cup and spending that quality time with them, being in the present moment, all of those things. But guess what? We can't fill their love cup if we're not filling our own. Because when our cup is empty, that's when we get into short-tempered, we yell more, we get angry more easily, we just get like frustrated, and we're parenting in a way that we don't actually want. Maybe we're snapping at our partners and nobody really wants to be around us because we're just empty. We have nothing left to give. And so I talk about self-care a lot with the mamas that I work with, especially the ones that have those older babies and toddlers, right? Because you're already thinking in your head, like, oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted if my 9 or 10 or 11-month-old or my 18-month-old isn't sleeping through the night. And you're like, oh, what do I do? But one of the strategies is you actually have to fill your own love cup so that you can deal with that sleep deprivation. You can deal with that exhaustion. You can deal with the terrible twos or the meltdowns or whatever. You have more reserves to be able to deal with those in a way that mimics the values of your parenting style. And so this is a big piece of it. And it's something that we all, I feel like, really put on the bottom of our to-do list. It just gets pushed down. Like, I know I have to do self-care. Oh, but I don't have time to do self-care. I know I have to do self-care, but I have to, get the laundry done and the dishes done and make sure that my baby gets their naps at the same time. I know I have to do self-care, but there's always a but, I find. So really making it a priority. And one of the ways that I talk about it is that you really need to think about self-care just like you think about nourishing your body with healthy food and water. And you know that those are important, because if you don't fill your body with healthy food and water, you're not going to feel good. You're not going to have a lot of energy. You're going to feel yucky. And that's also going to lead to all of those sort of not parenting the way that you want to parent, because you're not going to feel your best.
Yeah.
Self-care is the same thing. You need to fill your emotional kind of reserves in order to really care for the people in your life the way that you want to.
Yeah, I love that you use the word emotional, because a lot of times at least in my opinion and a lot of my clients, we don't give ourselves emotional self-care. We just keep going. Even as a child, I stopped myself from crying because it was like, there's no time for that. Like, you got to get up and go, right? It's just that culture. And that's what I work is coaching moms through their emotional support. Like, how do we even do this? No one taught us how to do this. And then our kids bring us emotions and we're like, whoa, I don't even know how to do my own emotions. So how am I going to do your emotions? So what does emotional self-care look like to you? Like, first question. And then the second question is, this idea of the working mom, that self-care can be work. Like, if you are in passionate work that you love doing, how does that show up for you as like, oh, I'm not I'm not going to feel guilty by doing this project that really, really lights me up.
I actually love that perspective. I haven't thought about it like that before, but it's true, because for myself, so I love running mom and baby classes in person, because just being around the babies and all of that love and the giggles and the new skills and all of the awe that moms have, like when their baby rolls over for the first time or whatever, it really fills my cup. It's exhausting physically, but it really fills my cup. And I'm always so like giddy after class. Like I'm just like on cloud nine, like just so happy. And so it's interesting to think of that as a form of self-care because I'm doing something that I love. So I love that perspective. I'm going to use that perspective. I'm going to put that in my back pocket. And so in terms of emotional sort of self-care, this is a harder one for me because I find myself doing a lot of the shoulds. And I just did a self-care sort of challenge that I was just a participant in a few weeks ago. And one of their things was, okay, tonight, you need to do something just for you, something that will fill your cup, something that will make you feel joy, calm, whatever the feeling is, but something that is just for you, for nobody else. And they gave a bunch of ideas like meditation or yoga nidra or listening to podcasts or whatever. And so in my head at the beginning of this sort of homework, when they were assigning it, I was like, oh, this is so easy. I have all these ideas. It's all good. Like I'm going to just pick one off the list and it'll be great. But throughout the day, it started to feel like a big burden because I started to do the shoulds. Oh, I should meditate, but do I really like meditating? I don't know. Then I have to like find a spot, all of the things that go through your head. And it was starting to feel like hard work. And then I really sat with myself and thought, okay, I know all of the things that I could do or should do to be self-care, but what do I actually want to do? What actually will fill me up? And I sat with that a little bit. And honestly, it was not all of these things. What I felt in that moment was I asked my husband to put the kids to bed from start to finish. I sat in my sort of like, it's my office, but it's actually kind of my Zen, my Zen den, you could call it. And I sat there with a cup of tea and I did my nails and I also watched a Netflix show. I just chose one that I was like, okay, this is like super cheesy, romantic-y, whatever, something that I don't normally watch. Like I'm not a TV watcher. And when my husband and I watch movies, it's never the romantic comedy thing because he does not go for that. So this was my sort of like indulgence. It felt like an indulgence. And I had to keep reminding myself not to feel guilty about this, that this is exactly what I needed. And can I tell you, I went to bed that night, like on cloud nine, because I was just so relaxed. I was so happy. My kids tried all of the tricks to get me to come and do bedtime because that's what they're used to. And I held my ground. I put the boundary in place. There were tears. I let my husband deal with those tears. And it was heaven. It was so great. And it didn't cost me anything. Okay, fine, the Netflix subscription, but
the nail polish.
The nail polish, yeah. But really it was, and it wasn't your classic, oh, I'm going to do some yoga nidra. I'm going to set myself up to meditate for 10 minutes. I'm going to find this guided meditation. I'm going to do XYZ. It just was in the moment. What do I actually want right now that I can do that I'm going to feel good about?
I love that. Yeah. That's a huge part of my coaching program is rediscovering your own inner knowing. Like no, everybody's telling me to do all these things to take care of myself. And just going back to your question, what is it that I want right now?
It was hard. I'll tell you, it was hard.
Yeah, it ain't easy. No one taught us how to do that.
Yeah.
And the knocking on the door and the crying and just sitting with those, that's the emotional, that's what we call safe seat and pure joy coaching, sitting with bringing all those emotions right there in that moment, just being like, oh, okay.
And I think you had mentioned this also, but one of the things that I find with parents that I work with is it's hard. They get triggered by their baby's tears or their toddler's tears or their preschooler's tears. And I think our initial instinct as moms is to stop the tears and to make our children feel better. And so we do, and we give, and we like try all of the tricks to stop the tears. How can I make you feel better? And I think that's one of the things that causes us overwhelm and more stress, because we're constantly trying more and more and more and more, and that's exhausting.
Yeah.
And if we just realize that we all have to express emotion, this is how we get to the other side of the emotion. And the same for our kids. Tears in and of themselves are not bad. Crying is not bad. And actually, on the other side of crying, you often have that sense of like,
oh yeah, the
I feel
stress
so
cycle.
calm, right?
Mm-hmm.
The difference is that we want to be there supporting the tears, holding loving intention for those tears. We want to hold space for our children, but we want to be in their presence, or at least somewhere nearby where they know that we're there when they need us with those tears. This is where the difference comes with the whole like sleep training and cry it out, and or the like, oh, don't pick up your child just because they're crying, or every time they cry you're causing bad habits, and all of the crazy things that I hear all the time. And I think that we kind of get into this like, oh, I'm causing a bad habit if I'm always responding to the tears, if I'm always holding my children or picking them up or responding to them to comfort them. But that's the opposite, actually. That's exactly what they need. They don't need us to stop the tears. They need us to comfort them through. They need to know and feel that we're there for them whenever they need us, whether they're angry or sad or happy or excited or frustrated or whatever. Positive, negative emotions, it doesn't matter. They need to understand that we will be there for them no matter what. And that comes through allowing them to have those emotions, allowing them to express those emotions, even if you get triggered by those emotions, even if you don't like those emotions, even if your gut is like, I just want to stop the tears.
Yeah, of course you do.
And allowing those tears to happen, because I always tell the moms, put yourself in your child's position. If you came home from a really tough day at work and you were just so angry, or there was something so sad that happened and you just burst out screaming and crying, if your partner was like, it's okay, don't cry, stop crying, it's okay, calm down, calm down, take a breath, calm down, stop crying. Oh, if you can't stop crying, just go to your room until you're done, right? You would be enraged. You'd be like, what the F is wrong with you? Leave me alone.
Yeah. Right? Just let me cry.
But instead, what your partner most likely does naturally is gives you a big hug, sits with you on the couch while you cry your tears out. And then when you're done crying, you hug, and then you probably tell your partner all about why you were crying, and you talk it out. Now, our babies and toddlers can't necessarily talk it out, but they do need to go through all those other stages to have that moment of, oh, okay, I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel loved. Mm-hmm. And this is the part I think that we sometimes prevent, right? Because we want to stop. Our goal is to stop the tears. Our goal is to make our child feel better, but we don't connect that actually helping them feel better is just being there, holding them, hugging them, letting them have their tantrum, letting them have their cry, letting them express their frustration that you've decided you're no longer nursing to sleep, or nursing 5 times a night, or whatever the boundary is that you're putting in place. Letting them have those emotions of sadness, of grief, of whatever the emotion is, and being there for them still, and then they can get to the other side. So Dr. Neufeld calls that tears of futility, where it's just you have to have these tears. It's like futile to try to stop the tears. You have the tears to get through to the other side, to get through that emotion so that you can then move forward. Versus if we stop the tears, then we're essentially telling our babies and children that it's not okay to have emotion. It's not okay to express emotion. So better keep it bottled up inside until we're adults, and then we go to therapy for it.
Exactly. Right? Yes. Or you can, get a pure joy parent coach to cry with you.
There you go. There you go.
You're riding the waves of emotion with me. Yeah. And that book reminds me of that book by the Nagowski sisters, Burnout, Completing the Stress Cycle. if you're not going through that whole stress cycle all the way through the emotional tunnel is what they call it. You're stopping right there, it's gonna get stuck. And yeah, as you were talking, I was just thinking we should probably wrap up with, do you have like any final tips for, when your baby's waking up a lot, or your toddler even, and there is that crying, like you're holding space for them. And yes, we tell ourselves, like, when is this ever going to end? When are they ever going to stop waking up and crying? Do you have a tip on how to just be with them through that, like, cry, not the cry it out method, but coming in and just being with the crying?
So one of the things for sure, because I look at everything holistically, right? So is understanding and tuning into your baby. Is that crying because of pain and discomfort? Or is that crying because they're expressing an emotion? For example, if you put a boundary in place where you're not nursing them 5 times a night, right? And so you really need to kind of tease that out, because if they're crying because they have growing pains or a stomach ache, or they've got food allergies and intolerances that are causing some discomfort in their bellies, or they've got eczema that's really itchy at night, or whatever, then you have to take care of that need first, right?
Yeah,
and
a wet diaper.
Exactly, a wet diaper, whatever it is. Like, you can't just hold them and let them cry. That's not taking care of the need. Or if they're hungry, like if they're actually hungry, then you have to take care of the needs first. And then when you know that you've taken care of the needs and you're like, okay, my 18-month-old does not need to nurse every 2 hours at night because they're eating really well during the day and they had a full feed before bed. I know that they don't need the nutrition and that their belly is not full, and maybe they're just comfort nursing, right? So this often happens with the families that I work with. So let's just take that as an example. The first thing that I would actually do, especially with the older toddlers and preschoolers, is start talking about this change that is going to happen, this sort of boundary that you're putting into place, where you're like, well, I'm not nursing anymore at night, or maybe I'm not nursing anymore. If you want to start slower, if you're like, I'm not going to nurse unless it's been 4 hours, right, since the last nurse. And so you have to talk to your older toddler or preschooler about the change first. You also need to pair that nursing with another sleep association or soothing mechanism. So whether it is humming, or maybe you're sitting in a rocking chair and you're rocking them, or you're patting their bum, or you're squeezing their feet, or whatever it is, they're playing with a lovey that you guys have together, or something that is going to give them some comfort. You're pairing that with the nursing first. This is also sometimes called habit stacking. So you're building in another habit, another soothing mechanism before you take the nursing away, or whatever is not working for you anymore, before you're putting that boundary in place. You have to have something else there. You don't have to, but this is one of the ways to kind of make it a little bit more of a gradual, less harsh transition.
Yeah, we often don't plan for transitions, right?
Yeah,
like we just know this and then this.
Yeah. And then you would stop that you would put that boundary in place. So no nursing, let's just say. You put that boundary in place, and there's going to be tears because it's something new and unfamiliar, unpredictable, which our primitive brain views as kind of scary, and we're like, oh, on high alert. And your child is expressing emotion of, I'm sad that I don't get to nurse, or I'm frustrated, or I'm angry that things are different. And that's okay. Change is hard for all of us. But when things become consistent, they become familiar, predictable, and viewed by our brain as safe.
Yeah.
And so your baby or your toddler or your child will get used to things if you hold that boundary consistently, and you can literally just hold them. Give them a hug. If they don't want to be held and they're kind of wiggling away, put them on the ground. Let them be there. You can talk to them gently. I wouldn't have like big, long conversations in the middle of the night, but you could say things like, Mommy loves you. I know this is hard, but Mommy loves you. Mommy's here, or whatever your words are, right? But using simple words like that to let them know. And then when they eventually do calm down, they'll probably come and climb into your lap for a hug, and you hold them, and then you calm them down and put them back to sleep. it sounds so easy when I talk about it, but it's not easy. And knowing that going in, that it's going to be hard for you to put the boundary in place and keep the boundary in place. The other thing I tell the moms that I work with, though, is that you have to trust your instincts also. Just because I told you to put the boundary in place and because we agreed on that while, we were having our call, you also have to still tune in to how that boundary feels in that moment. So if you've been holding your screaming child for an hour because you're not nursing and you're putting the boundary in place and everybody's exhausted because it's the 5th time that night that they're up, then maybe you're just kind of giving into that boundary for today and you're trying again tomorrow, or you're trying again for the next week, right? You have to have that piece of like, does this still feel good in my heart right now? Or do we all just need more sleep and I'm going to nurse you so that we can all get to sleep?
I love that.
And that's okay too.
In Pure Joy, we call that boundary what is not okay and what is okay with how I treat myself. Mm-hmm. So if you are with a screaming child for an hour and you are like, this is not working for me, right? That's your boundary there. You're not, it's not like you're giving in to your child or like the world is going to end, right? So, you got to take care of your own needs too.
Yeah, I do sometimes, usually not in the middle of the night, but sometimes I have parents asking me for other kind of parenting tips during the day when you're putting boundaries in place during the day. And sometimes I do try to talk or support moms to get their children to calm down before giving into the boundaries so that the child is still learning that, okay, I can still regulate my emotions and I will still get what I want versus I'm going to scream and cry until you give in part, right? So there's like a fine balance where it's like, okay, let's just calm down. When we're nice and calm, then mommy will nurse you, or then you can have more milk or whatever your words are. But just kind of like down regulating before you give them whatever that thing was that they were crying about in the first place.
Yeah. And I think that when you're really solid with yourself, that naturally you both will co-regulate and like, okay, now we're
co-regulation is huge.
Yeah. Now I can make a decision from my rational brain. Right. So before we go, I know you have courses and coaching and all of that for anybody that wants to work deeper on this. If you're really wanting to get some sleep in order in your house, will you tell everybody how to find you?
Yeah, sure. So all of my information is on my website, which is just www.kailiets.com. And you can find all my courses there, all of my sort of one-to-one support, my books, everything. But you can also just get in touch with me. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm the Holistic Baby Guru on Instagram. I just started a TikTok account. So I'm just Kaili Ets on that. But so social media is probably the easiest way, or just visiting my website. And there's lots of places to sort of contact me on that.
I'll put all of your links in the description of the video too.
Perfect. So. Yay.
Thanks so much. I feel like we could talk forever, but
I know
we got to stay on schedule, right?
We just kind of started with the little tip of the iceberg there.
Yeah. Thanks so much. I'm gonna hit stop and find Kaili if you need some support.